My hypothesis going in, and still to be disproven to this day, is that paid social is great for quick decision, snap decision, low consideration, low risk purchases. The last couple of things that I bought off an Instagram ad, one was a set of 3 golf ball markers that cost me $15. It's a want. It's the difference between a $30 silicone ring and a $150 pair of shoes that help you solve a real problem. We really solve a job to be done for our customers. That might make us a terrible Facebook brand. I hope I'm proven wrong. If I'm proven wrong, it's great because that'll be the next great area we actually get better at and scale. But up until now, we've really grown the brand dramatically in the last 2 years with very little social contribution.
Hello and welcome to the DTC Podcast. I'm Eric Dyck. Today we're diving deep with Kuru Footwear CMO Sean McGinnis, who's helped the pain-free brand break out of a growth slump and reach new heights this year. Sean is a deeply structured, very strategic marketer whose focus on Google search marketing architecture has paid massive dividends since he began. In this podcast, you'll hear how a sketch in grade 5 turned into a proprietary Kurusole technology that provides Kuru's main moat, why restructuring your website categories to match multiple customer journeys is a must-do for your search ads, why Facebook ads just aren't a priority for the solution-oriented brand, and why mailing more just works, and how to make sure you're not burning out your list. You're also going to hear what it's going to take for Kuru to become a household name for nurses. I hope you enjoy the program. I sure did. On with the show. Kole's content creation and management platform helps the world's top D2C brands enter new channels, reach more customers, and increase conversions through smarter creative that's authentic, made for you, and meets your needs cost effectively. Whether you're a brand marketer trying to grow on TikTok with authentic videos or a performance marketer looking to get more images to test in your ads to improve your return on ad spend, Kole has the creators and team to shatter your marketing goals. Visit Kole.com/DTC. That's Kohley.com/DTC to request a complimentary consultation and get on the fast track to better content. Welcome to the D2C Podcast. Sean, can you start a little bit with the why of Kuru Footwear? Why was Kuru Footwear built?
Yeah, sure. Happy to do so. Thanks for having me on the show, Eric. So Kuru was founded back in somewhere, depending on which date you pay attention to, 2006 or 2008 by our founder and CEO, Brett Rasmussen. And Brett has always wanted to own a shoe brand. Part of our founding story, we have designs of a footwear catalog from when he was 13. So in 5th grade, as part of his not doing his schoolwork in the middle of class, he was designing like a shoe company catalog with like strike-through pricing, the whole 9 yards. So it's been his dream, his childhood dream. But the real reason that we exist today is we exist to help customers with foot pain throughout North America. 95% of our business is in the States here. We also have about 5% of our business that goes to Canada, maybe less. But every pair of shoes that we ship includes our proprietary and patented technology that Brett invented. He was not a footwear guy or a shoe guy at the core. He had some semi-radical ideas that, frankly, he developed while doing a bunch of patent research. He knew he wanted to have something that differentiated the product, and that led him to this invention that we call the Kurusole technology. It's embedded in the sole of every pair of shoes that we make. And turns out it wasn't really his initial thesis. It wasn't really about helping with foot pain. It was about a performance piece of like, how can I make the shoe work better for the human foot? It just turns out that it actually helps with alleviating and preventing foot pain associated with plantar fasciitis and a lot of other kind of issues that kind of afflict we humans.
Sort of a bit of a universal orthotic.
Yeah, and that was the initial thesis was what happens if I take shapes and materials that you typically buy in an aftermarket orthotic and build it directly into the shoe. Wouldn't that be better? Like when I buy a $100 pair of running shoes, why do I have to go buy an $80 pair of orthotics or inserts to make them work for me?
Yeah.
Right.
Very interesting. So, and I think that's just such a smart thing. I hear it again and again on the podcast of like really building in that differentiator to the DNA of the product. Just makes every other aspect of creating that brand, scaling it, go a lot smoother. Would you agree?
Yeah, it gives you a defensible moat, right? No one else can offer Kurusole technology. And so there's really we view it as there's no competition. If you want what we can provide, we're the only ones that can provide it.
Very cool. So what were the first moves that you made when you took over as CMO of Kuru?
Oh my gosh. So the performance story of the business is the business grew really, really rapidly through about 2017. And then at the end of 2017, there were kind of a number of internal narratives that were kind of running around the business. And at the end of 2017, they migrated from a Magento 1 site to a Magento 2 site. And along with that migration, they basically changed everything all at once. They changed the code base behind the site itself. They changed the development agency that was working on the site. They changed the hosting provider. They changed the front-end design, look and feel. They changed the messaging that was embedded in that design. And they left behind 300 pages of foot pain-oriented content because the narrative was, we've tapped out of this foot pain customer. We don't know how to spend more money and make more money targeting in that way. And so we needed to pivot, be above and beyond, and kind of pivot the business in a little more of a lifestyle brand, a little more of a imagine what you could do if you didn't have foot pain type of thing, instead of a more explicit, we exist to help solve foot pain. So the primary changes that we embarked on, there were about 3 or 4. One was we moved back into the foot pain messaging space a little bit more explicitly. We're still not where I'd like us to be, but it's pretty obvious what we do now. We don't bury the lead quite so aggressively as we used to.
Was there a period there after that, sorry to interrupt, but after that 2017 period, like where they kind of faltered, where they'd made all of these huge changes and they just weren't panning out? That must have been frustrating.
So the business grew through 2017 and then kind of flatlined in 2018. So revenues were about the same as 2017. And as you can imagine, when you leave behind 300 pages of foot pain or SEO-driven content, your SEO traffic and orders are going to go down, right? So they had to make up for that in paid media. So they spent more in media to maintain that same level of revenue. The next step that they did was at the end of 2018, kind of in an effort to try to reclaim that growth, they moved everything over to a local agency. And they spent even more in 2019 to maintain that level. And then 2019, the rest of the year was kind of a downward spike in revenue and profit. So I joined the business at the end of 2019 to kind of complete that part of the story, reintroduce the foot pain messaging. We increased the font size, a full four font points across the website, and conversion rate spiked. We made it a little more obvious that we offer free shipping and free returns and free exchanges. So you see below our banner. In Canada, you might not get that. You get a different message in Canada. But in the States, we have a big black bar that sits below our navigation bar that kind of is ever present. It's a persistent kind of sub-nav bar that says free shipping, free returns, free exchanges. Conversion rate spiked another healthy percentage. We moved, when you navigate our category pages, all of the colors are present in the category pages themselves. So you don't have to click through, for example, to the men's or women's Atom and then navigate it into multiple more clicks. You can see the 8 colors of the Atom or the Quantum right there on the category page. The thesis there was our catalog really isn't big enough to warrant that as an approach. We're not Nike, we're not Adidas. We don't have 400 different types of styles that we want to show you, and each of those styles has 10 different colorways, right? We can make it pretty easily kind of to just scroll and see. And that, again, sort of had an approach. The other main thing that we did was I hired a former employee of mine as a contractor to rebuild our paid search account from the ground up. And in concert with that, we added all of the categories that you see today. So when you nav over men's and women's shoes, you can see that we think about the customer journey in 3 kind of major segments. So there's one segment is, what are the types of foot pain that I have that I'm trying to solve for? Another one is, I'm going to take these shoes and do specific things with them. So what are the activities you may use the shoes for? And then the third one is, I might have a job or a career that means that I'm on my feet all day long. And we've specifically styled or we recommend specific types of shoes for specific types of jobs. So if you're in retail or hospitality or healthcare, nurses are on their feet quite a bit. Those types of jobs lead to foot fatigue and other types of foot pain. So we've got specific recommendations that we make from that. And so all that keyword research that we did when we were rebuilding all the paid search accounts, we created these kind of micro journeys, right? From a paid search landing or paid search keyword click to a paid search landing page to a gendered category page that's tied into that keyword. So if I'm looking for comfortable shoes for nurses, we land you on a nursing page. From there, we take you to men's nursing shoes into the PDP page. And that has been very effective for us.
Has it also paid dividends on the SEO side?
It has. Yeah, it has. It used to pay a lot more dividends than it has been lately. We've been affected by the most recent algorithm update in November-ish timeframe. And not only have we been affected, but a number of sites that used to link to us and send us free referral traffic have been affected too. So we're in the midst right now of a pretty significant project to rewrite a lot of we call them experts corner pages. It's a lot of the kind of the paid search pages. They're really old and they're very long in the tooth, and they're ripe for our rethink. So we're in the process of rewriting about 150 of those pages right now.
It's really interesting. We're right in the process right now of building out an SEO plan for the newsletter and website, because we're filling out these category pages all the time about Facebook ad tips and Google ad tips, and we have it all categorized like that. But this idea of categorizing it across 3 different axes is really interesting, because we're trying to keep it as slim as possible. But I'm starting to think like, if I'm for instance, a CPG advertiser, would I want to find content that's about CPG versus just Facebook or Google? So it's interesting for you to categorize it across all these different axes. You're essentially serving the same products, but you're just providing like a really optimized flow to each of them.
Yeah, what we hear from customers is a lot of times they'll be kind of shocked of, I didn't know that this company gets me, right? Like I had a very specific search around this type of heel pain or this type of Morton's neuroma, or there's a variety of kind of things, knee pain and heel pain. It's all interconnected, right? So you might have a pain that starts with your foot, but it manifests itself up in your lower back or your hip. And by us kind of creating those category pages, we hear from customers all the time, like, this company really gets me. Like, I didn't know that you could even make a shoe specific to this thing. And there are certain recommendations that we make depending on the type of pain that you're experiencing. So all those are facets that you can kind of further kind of narrow down in our category inside the e-com experience. But we also create these kind of, as I referenced before, kind of a micro funnel, right? And some of those pages perform really, really well. I mean, best shoes for plantar fasciitis or shoes for plantar fasciitis. Our women's category page was number 1 in Google for most of last year. Now we're down at number 11. And so that's not the page we really want to rank, but you can't control that as granularly you'd like to every time you want to, right?
I had plantar fasciitis for a year and a half before I finally managed to get rid of it. So I've been in that problem-aware position before. I've probably searched for plantar fasciitis shoes before. I see it's the number 1 ailment there. I imagine. Is it the most common?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, the majority of our customers are dealing with some either diagnosed or undiagnosed version of that. There's millions of Americans every year that get diagnosed with PF, and it turns out it's the core of what we do. It's not the only reason we exist by any stretch of the imagination. It's really, we help with everything from high arches to low arches, just foot strain in general or foot fatigue. But PF is the one that can be the most abusive. You see people, for those that we work for, there's this incredible brand loyalty. We see it in the reviews every day. I randomly picked 2 out of our, just when we're 1 day old. Every now and then we'll drop them in our Slack channel, right, to kind of pump up everybody's like, here's the latest review. Stuff like game-changing or life-changing for us. You see that pretty regularly from our customer base. It's really, it's the core of what kind of keeps us fired up and continuing to really push on the envelope to come up with new styles that we can embed the technology in. So yeah, I should say I feel your pain, but I don't, because I don't have PF, but yeah, I'm glad that you found a solution. That's the important thing.
Yeah, no worries. So back to AdWords and Google Ads for a second here, what kind of performance difference did you see after this rework, this well thought out rework? Was it night and day?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, there's no contest. The bulk of our growth over the last 2 years has been a story related to SEO and direct channels for sure, and email. We've really leaned into the email channel as on the whole, but it's been primarily about paid search, both branded and non-branded. And then we've seen some pretty dramatic shopping growth in 2020. 2021, we're relatively flat on that side, but on the non-branded paid in particular, we were up very significantly. So it's been
Nice.
it's been a huge driver of our success the last 2 years. Yeah.
And then quickly about your SEO, did you reinstate the pages that had been pulled down? Did you refactor them as well? And then what does your SEO strategy look like now, kind of going forward?
Yeah, we pulled a lot of that content over, and that's in that Experts Corner page. You see, if you navigate to the bottom of our page, you see an area that says in the footer, it's called Experts Corner. That takes you to a really, really awful page that links out to about 120 different pages, and sometimes some of those pages are pretty heavily duplicative of one another. It's just really bad content. And so the strategy right now is that we're consolidating all those like-minded pages into a more robust set of pages around a topic or a series of topics. And so if you navigate today in the main, I think it's called Foot Pain and Care, if you navigate there and you hit the plantar fasciitis link in the first one on the top left, you'll see the new template. So it's a new approach. It's more componentized. It's more modern. It definitely looks and feels a little bit better. It's more informative. Those are the pages. We're a little bit of a hub and spoke approach. So we're taking an approach that says, we're creating these conditions or activities or careers. We're linking out from there into more detailed, thoughtful pages that provide just better content. So all those pages are being rewritten and then consolidated. So we're in the process of kind of redirecting those and producing them at scale. So hopefully by the end of March, we will have, call it 100 of the 150 rebuilt, launched, fully indexed, and then redirected. And we'll kind of finish that up in April, I would think.
Very cool. Have you? Can you think of a marketing decision that you've made since coming to Kuru that hasn't panned out?
Oh my gosh.
Or any mistake that you learned from?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll give you not a marketing mistake, but one of the big questions that I had, frankly, coming into the business. I'll just tell the story real quickly. So we had a meeting every week. We've since stopped having it, but in the first 6 or 7 weeks, I would get these reports from the operations team, like these are the shoes that are selling, and these are the ones that are overbought, and these are the ones that are slow moving, right? And we had our definition of what those two things were. And about 6 or 7 weeks in, I inherited a pretty small team. We were still kind of building out the way we were thinking about things. And in that room, I said, I get the feeling you guys want me to do something with this. To help me understand, what did the prior marketing leadership or the marketing team do with this information, if anything? And at the time, my hypothesis was, I wasn't really sure whether we could move the needle on a specific colorway or a specific style by air quote marketing that, right? So if you think about what I just described that were the big wins, primarily that's about people self-selecting and it's about demand capture and us inserting Kuru at the bottom of the conversation, right? We haven't really spent any meaningful time doing demand gen and raising brand awareness. You whether you found us or not, you probably didn't know Kuru existed unless or until you searched for plantar fasciitis solutions of some sort. And you may have seen a branded paid ad for us, or you may not have. But we're not a Nike, we're not an Adidas, we're not a company that even we want the whole country yet to know about. And so my big question was, it's from a marketing perspective, my thought was we're going to find people like Eric that have foot pain. We're going to bring them into the site. The first thing that Eric's going to want to do is, does this really solve this problem for me or not? And if so, then I'm going to probably scan the catalog real quickly, and does this look like something I would wear? If not, I'm out. In my case, my specific, I wear wides, and so I can't tell you the number of shoe companies that don't produce wides. And so the first thing I do, I've wasted millions of dollars on advertisers in the shoe category in particular, clicking on their cool, hey, that's a cool looking shoe. Oh, they don't come in wides, buy. I'm done, right? I know I can't buy from them. I'm not even going to bother trying. And so they're going to look through the catalog looking at their criteria. Then they're going to look at the price point. Does this make sense for me or not? Can I afford it or not? Is it worth it if it actually solves the foot pain or not? And then they're going to buy what they like. That was my thought, right? So the big question was, can we actually move the needle on a specific style or a specific color by either featuring those shoes in our marketing on social, or featuring them in email, or featuring them in any kind of meaningful way? To Today, I'm pretty turned around on that. I think absolutely we do have that capability. And so one of the most important things is that we're not just focusing on our hero product, which is the thing that the marketers love because it's the most beautiful shoe and it's our top selling shoe. And it's, you always sometimes have to remind them, hey, we have these other things too that other people may like. And let's make sure that we're hitting them in email, or we're hitting them in social, we're hitting them in the banners on the e-com site. So that's been a big sort of change of heart of mine personally.
Interesting. I'm just even thinking back to the stagnation that was sort of felt there, where there was this feeling like, oh, we've really saturated this market. And I feel like that's something that every brand goes through at different points. And it's so hard to conceive of how many people there are out there looking for products, buying products. And so I think it's a really good point to bring up, just because it's something that you really often have to fight through. And in your case, it seems like you fought through it by just really refining the your Google AdWords and your Google ads, and helping people find you when they had this problem. But I'm just also curious, what else have you done on top of funnel? You are running Facebook ads, I imagine.
So we do a little bit. It's not nearly what you'd expect of a direct-to-consumer brand, and we're in the process of testing that hypothesis as well. So my hypothesis at the time, we inherited the paid social account from the agency when we brought it in-house. We've always been measuring the relative efficiency of our marketing efforts through a kind of a blended MER. The way I think about it is that output is the sweet music that's coming out of the speakers, and every channel is part of an equalizer where we're sliding, we're more tolerant of risk here, or we're less tolerant of what the expense looks like on this channel. And paid social in particular, when you look at it at a last click basis in Google Analytics, is not very efficient. It's not profitable for us. So we look at that as the floor of contribution, right? Google Analytics last click says this. Facebook says this, right? They're taking credit for every single thing they can get their hands on, every view through attribution. Anyone who ever saw an ad of your brand anytime in the last X days that later on wound up purchasing, even if it came through an email click, Facebook's taking credit for that. And the truth is somewhere in between there. So, right, we've got a floor established and a ceiling established. But overall, it seems to be our least efficient channel. And so my hypothesis going in, and still to be disproven to this day, is that paid social is great for quick decision, snap decision, low consideration, probably low risk purchases. I don't know about you, but the last couple of things that I bought off an Instagram ad, like one was a set of 3 golf ball markers that cost me $15. Oh, like Instagram. Oh, look at these cool little golf ball. I can pick what I want for 3 of them. Click, select, buy, shop, pay. 3 weeks later, they come from wherever they come from, and they show up on the back of a turtle. And I got my $15 worth of product. It was very low risk and very low consideration, right? Yep. It's a want. It's the difference between a $30 silicone ring and a $150 pair of shoes that help you solve a real problem. Like, we always talk about how we really solve a job to be done for our customers, and like that might make all the difference and might make us a terrible Facebook brand. I don't know. I hope I'm proven wrong, and it could be that we've just never been doing it right and we don't have the best creative in the world. And we're in the process of standing up a multi-touch attribution solution that's going to give us better intelligence about what the real contribution of that channel is for our brand. But today, it's a very small percentage of our spend, and we want to learn much more about it. And if I'm proven wrong, it's great, because that'll be the next great area we actually get better at and scale. But up until now, we've really grown the brand dramatically in the last 2 years with very little social contribution.
Interesting. Can you mentioned your email marketing? Can you talk a little bit about your strategy with email and SMS with Kuru?
So there's no SMS today. We're in the process of standing that up as a channel as we speak. We went from, when I walked in the door, we were sending 3 emails a week. We went to sending 5 emails a week and doubled revenue. I know people are always like, oh my gosh, I can't believe the frequency that you're killing the list. And it's like, well, we track email subscriptions and unsubscribes, and the rate of those two things have not changed. So we've actually grown the list over the last 2 years. And we're getting better at segmenting the list and only hitting sort of, the list was always sending to like relative engagers. So people that had interacted, opened, clicked through in the last 30 days were the ones that were getting it. And we use that primarily as a means to communicate a change in status on something, right? When I walked in the business, we didn't have back in stock email notifications set up, as an example. So we would, when we had a big back in stock event, we would send an email. It's like, hey, Eric, this color of this shoe is back in stock. And even if it was a women's shoe, we would just send it to the whole list, right?
Yeah.
So now we have that capability set up inside of our instance in Magento with List Track. So we're getting more intelligent about how we segment that, but we're also leaning more heavily on email to make up for the SEO deficiency. And so it's been a rough couple of months for us in terms of, and we're sending 2 times a day on some, when we do a big promotion. We're not a heavy promotion brand, but the promotions that we do, we rely on our Kuru Cash point system. And so when we're doing that, we just came out of it. We did a Love Your Feet campaign throughout, February 2nd or so through the 14th. There were days when we would send 2 reminders a day, but the revenue speaks for itself. Like, it's been incredible, and we're up again this year over last year. So that channel has been super, super productive for us, and it's always a danger, right? You can always burn out the list and really kill long-term goodwill with your customer base by abusing it. So
if you're not watching carefully, but it's easy. Again, it's easier to. I maybe shouldn't be saying this. We made a mailing mistake a couple weeks ago where we mailed too many people. That were not on our main list, but they got shuffled to our main list. We mailed too many people, but we had one of our highest open rates ever on it, and it was just sort of like, we're very precious with how we do things. But I think it's a mentality that as long as you're willing to test, like, that's the bottom line in this industry. You just got to test it and know what markers you're looking for to make sure you're not burning your list. But otherwise, it's pretty much fair game. People have a lot of understanding.
If you're paying attention to your KPIs, you know when you've overdone it. You will know pretty quickly, right? And so you're right. Precious is a good word for it. I mean, I hear all these people like, oh, I can't believe X, Y, Z. And it's like, well, the data tells the story. And if you let the data tell the story, you should be experimenting with everything. And I think the list is a lot more resilient than some people think, because they think of how they individually behave. But if you look at it as a whole cohort of several 100,000 people, or however many people are on your list, don't make assumptions. Never assume anything, or assume like me, and then go prove yourself wrong. Hope to prove yourself wrong.
It's time to let your customers enjoy the products they love without the friction of reordering. That's why the world's most innovative brands like Peet's Coffee and Il Maquillage rely on Order Groove subscriptions to build long-lasting customer relationships and deliver recurring revenue. Order Groove integrates with all e-commerce platforms, making the experience easy to manage and seamless for shoppers. From enrollment incentives to churn-fighting AI, Order Groove gives your business the tools it needs to be the next big subscription success story. Visit ordergroove.com/DTC to receive 2 months off your first contract.
Have you ever experimented with list building? It just makes me think, because you've got a product that is so, for people that are problem aware, like, it'd be so easy to get them to maybe download a plantar fasciitis, guidebook or something like that, and then kind of market to them long term. Have you experimented with just lead generating?
We have not. We definitely intend to do some front-end quizzes on the way in the door to help you find your way quickly to the solution that you need, and both as a means to truncate and sort of stifle the amount of contacts we get, because we actually have a team of 15 now, I think, frontline. We call them Kuru Gurus, and play on words, that answer customers' questions through chat and SMS and email and phone. We staff that, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Mountain Time, I want to say. So that could be a really interesting way to kind of capture the email on the front end. SMS is next for us. We're really excited to get that going. And I'm also super skeptical that it's just going to cannibalize the email channel revenue, right? Like, I hope I'm really wrong about that. And there's a high level of incrementality of what we can see through that channel. But we're excited to get the testing underway.
I love it. And it may open up some of the social, the paid social channels potentially, just because people may not be into, a shoe that solves their problem. But if you're solving their problem with something free and easy, like, it may be, a good way to put Kuru at the bottom of that funnel for them.
Yeah. We're really excited for it. Awesome. There's a lot of change in our tech stack that's been happening, and more is coming. And it's going to be a busy year for sure.
I bet. I also noticed that you were hiring someone dedicated for PR. I thought that was really interesting. You talk a little bit about your PR strategy with Kuru?
Yeah, so we're a good number of us inside the business come from a place that had a really robust digital PR practice for that business. We think of it primarily as a way to generate awareness and clicks, but also links. So it's very helpful from an SEO perspective if you get it nailed down right. And so we are in the process, or have been in the process, of identifying and hiring a top candidate for that specific role. It's really about sort of putting the business on the map and thinking about what are the strategies that we can do to kind of raise awareness. And my CEO calls it hack the internet, right? It's like tapping into the desire of kind of the mimetic qualities of what's out there to put Kuru a little bit on the map. The goal there is to do it in a very targeted and specific way, but do it in a way that's relevant for our customer base, and really kind of lean into that. So we are excited to get that person on. They will drive strategy and also kind of focus on the programs themselves, and then we'll have our creative team kind of build those pages in order to support those efforts. And so there's more to come on that front. And if you start to see us in social, you'll know why. Right now, you probably have never seen us anywhere, but hopefully one of these days we'll start hitting the roadmap a bit.
One place I haven't seen you is Amazon. Can you describe your thinking there?
Yeah, we're really against. Our CEO has a very strong preference to not be selling on Amazon as a channel. I'm not sure I agree with him, but we are where we are, and I'm a good soldier. Yeah. And there's really good reasons to either be on Amazon or not being on Amazon, right? There's a lot of brands that view Amazon as their primary distribution strategy, and when the pain comes, it comes hot and heavy, and you can get a product banned, and it can really upset the distribution of what you have going on there. We just look at it as if we don't have to be there, there's no sense in being there, right? Every channel we can not distribute in becomes an opportunity that if we really, really wanted to, we could go down that path. And so, with our current growth rate, there's really no reason to explore adding. And like I said before, you can't buy Kuru anywhere else. The only other place you can buy Kuru is on a used site like Poshmark or eBay or something like that. There's no other place to buy a brand new pair of Kurus. You cannot do it. You can wait in line for the once a year warehouse sale that we have. And we had a couple hundred people standing outside the business when we did that last spring, it was maybe May or June. But you either come to our showroom and buy it in person right now, or you buy it on our website. It's the only place.
I love it. And it's fitting your growth plan, right? So there's no need to rush into it. My only thinking would be if you were to really double down on top of funnel at some point and you really wanted to grow awareness, you may want to add that as a catch-all, so that you're catching all those extra sales from people that are on Amazon. That's where they shop. But otherwise,
yeah, the biggest risk is that people are searching for our brand on Amazon, and the second biggest risk is when you search for Kuru Footwear, an Amazon page is number 2 below us, and it's incredibly frustrating from an SEO perspective to have a marketplace that does not distribute your product be ranking for your brand terms. That's not a problem Google's going to solve anytime soon. I mean, it is what it is. As someone who comes out of the SEO world, it's never going to change. I don't foresee Google making that change ever. But there's probably some bleed and a little bit of a hole in that bucket, and it would be great to be able to plug it. But I think the risks probably outweigh the rewards as far as we're concerned at this present time.
Very cool. How was
never say never.
Never say never.
I will never say never. But we're not in it today.
Cool. You mentioned your warehouse sale, which I thought was interesting. It just made me think you've got to line up out the door at a warehouse. You got to take a photo of that, get that in your ads as a way to drive scarcity. But what did you guys do for Black Friday, Cyber Monday? Did that coincide with your warehouse sale?
No. The warehouse sale was in the summer months of last year. We're going to do one again this year, probably. We haven't really gotten into the planning stages yet, but it's principally last year was discontinued shoes. So we had a backlog, several thousand pair of shoes that have long since been discontinued. And we just sold them for, I think, $50 a pair, credit card only. Just set up a Square swiper, and a couple iPads out there, and put a couple of big tents in the parking lot, and just stacked everything by size and by gender, and people just tore through it. But we had to kind of control the size of the crowd a little bit because we didn't want it to get out of hand. But yeah, there were about 150 people standing outside the door. I think we did it on a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And Friday at 10 o'clock, we were like, holy moly. It was
you moved some
it was
units.
A bonkers event. Yeah, it was really great. We moved more than half that inventory.
Wow.
Community event. Black Friday, it was definitely fun. For Black Friday, we do This year we did something very similar to what we traditionally do. So almost all of our promotions, air quote, to the degree we do promotions, is just a points accelerator. So we have our Kuru Cash Points program. If you were to buy a pair of shoes from us today, Eric, you get 5% of that purchase price back in your account for a future purchase. And so I think we did a 3x points accelerator for Black Friday, Cyber Monday. So that whole kind of weekend, the Cyber 5, we do the 3x points. Again, it's really promoted only in social and email. We hit a banner on the homepage as well. And we do it across, it's a site-wide promotion. Like there's no place in our checkout flow to put a coupon code to get treated any differently than any other customer of ours. That was another decision I made pretty early on, was when I realized we're not a heavy brand or heavy discounting brand. What's the point in having all you're doing is incentivizing people to go look for a code and claim a discount. So you're like giving away margins, like just setting money on fire. And we just removed that ability to do it, and so it feels like a big win for us, and it's something we want to continue to maintain going forward.
It seems like it. The points idea, I'm always interested when brands innovate, they by not giving discounts during that period. So whether it's launching new products or inventing a new currency, which is really smart. It's like rather than cannibalize your margin, create another currency, which you've done with your points. And again, that incentivizes people to, and because you have so many different styles, fill their whole shoe closet with Kurus, where like if you're going to get a pair of shoes that solves your problem, why don't all of your shoes solve your problem? And I guess that's the thinking behind the points there.
Yeah, our founder is really passionate about that. There have been stories of people, when he was actually answering the phones back in the day, he would get someone, well, you've got some Kuru Cash, do you want to apply that to your soil? And a lot of times the customer, no, I'm saving those. Like I don't want to use those just yet. I'm like, well, what are you saving them for? You can apply that to this purchase, but we do want people to view it as a currency and as a benefit that they're earning. So we don't use language like 15% off. We say earn 3x. We actually tested that in this most recent promotion we did in February. We tested 3x points and earn 15% in points, or 15% Kuru Cash. And the 3x points actually won for us. And so it's very interesting in terms of how people perceive that. It's just those are the things we're continually testing and getting aligned with as a team to say what is the best way to phrase this, and what do customers really see from a valuation perspective in that system. We really are going to. You're the first to hear this. Well, we're probably going to be rebuilding that whole program from the ground up in the coming 12 to 18 months, and really thinking through, what are the business benefits that we want to incentivize our customers to do, and are we rewarding those activities appropriately, right? If you like something you share the brand on Facebook, or you provide a review, how many dollars worth of points should we give you for that, right? Like, how do we realign that? So we're looking at, again, a potential tech stack change that might better power the whole concept of kind of a loyalty program for us.
Do you have a favorite piece of your tech stack that you could call out? Any tool in your software that you just absolutely love?
Well, my new favorite is Rockerbox by a long shot. I mean, Segment is, I would say the combination of Segment and Rockerbox has the potential to fundamentally change how we're doing marketing. And it's giving us better information than we've ever had before to better understand what the purchase paths and customer journeys look like for us. And it's really going to power a lot of that segmentation around email and SMS that what we're going to do on a go forward. So I'm really excited about that. It's been a work in progress, and we're literally like at the 1 yard line. We just had our multi-touch model turned on last week. So we're starting to socialize it and starting to really dig into that tool more frequently as a team to understand like what's the value here. So very exciting times.
That's a great shout. If we offered you a $50,000 grant right now to be put into Kuru's marketing budget, where would you deploy that in the next, say, 3 to 6 months?
100% new creative for social. Like I would spend every penny of it, and probably I would match it. I would match your 50 with another 50 and pull it from some other place, and go and create a whole wide swath of new creative to get tested and paid social. Like we need to do it. We know we need to do it. We're doing some foundation level stuff first to better understand our customers. We're in the process right now of a pretty important jobs to be done persona project, where we're really talking to our customers and going to come back. We're working with a really talented contractor, and she's going to come back with X number of personas that we really understand our customers about, and then we're going to start testing creative based off of that. So I would take your 50,000 and set it in a jar on my desk for like the next 45, 60 days, and then go create all that creative. But that foundation level work is really exciting to get us to the point where we can really start doing all the things I mentioned.
I actually read an article about how you were, or Kuru, maybe even before your time, I'm not sure, was rethinking their video creative for performance. Is this process still ongoing? Can you speak to it at all?
Yeah, it's not ongoing right now, in part because it was powering some of the paid social stuff that we were testing into. And while the creative was performing much better, the channel itself wasn't living up to expectations. And so without a rocker box in place to tell us really how valuable is that channel, that's the thing I'm most excited to do, is to once we get the personas developed, we then need to go create new creative, video and otherwise, and really 10x our spend in paid social for a month or two, and then measure the impact of that to really have a firm grasp of, is this a thing for us or not? Like, is my idiot hypothesis correct, or am I going to be proven wrong once again? I hope I'm proven wrong. Please prove me wrong. But it's harder than ever, as you know, in social these days to deliver the results that we used to deliver. And the other thing that I kind of relate back to is paid social used to be a bigger channel for the business back when you could target by health condition, right? Circa 2015, 16, 17, we could know that you had plantar fasciitis because through a click we could know that was a health condition. And when that change hit, it was like, oh, well, now we've got to use these other signals that are maybe a little bit different. So it becomes a little bit of a different animal for us.
You spoke to it already, and I think your strategy is really sound. This idea of really diving in on your personas, because in a world where you're not getting the tracking fidelity and the targeting fidelity that we're used to, you really have to let your creative and your site categorization and your user journeys really kind of do that targeting for you in a way. So like with your creative, calling out those different avatars, showing those different avatars, calling out the problems, those will magnetize the right users to you in a way that you used to be able to target. Now you really need to lean heavily on the creative. So I think your answer to invest heavily in creative is the right one. When you say that, do you mean like, so one of, we're partnered with Pilot House, so we're a creative firm as well. And so when we take on a new client, we talk about the kinds of creative they want, the really polished, the interview style, the UGC style, the product. Are you talking about like a full salvo type approach where you'd be working from everything from like high-end hero creatives all the way down to funky GIFs? Or do you have a specific kind of video in mind when you think of video?
No, it's everything. Yeah, we want to test everything. And it's to your point, I think it's almost like a 3D matrix, right? It's type, it's gender, it's condition, it's different color graphics, it's the different messaging is another big one. Like, if you've navigated the site, you can tell our creative is not great. Like there's the branding component of Kuru is very weak, and that's not pointing fingers at anybody. It's just where we're at. I'm not a brand guy. Our CEO,
and you're such a functional brand too, so you haven't had to lean. I think back to you talking about like the different
part of it,
the colorways and things like that. Like
yep.
Those will work once people are kind of sold. Those might work better once people are already sold on the function of the product, and then they want to know that they can get it in those other colors. But it's a different marketing thought process for sure.
It fits well with my idiot marketing functional brain. Like I'm very kind of no nonsense when it comes to that stuff. If you were to ask me, like one of the things I'm very fascinated by is. Is it to take a baby step forward? Should we just be doing a much better job of defining the category that we live in and that we inhabit? But the other piece is, I keep kind of we talk a lot about from the difference of kind of demand capture at that bottom of funnel and demand gen up at the top, right? And so if we were to move forward and say, okay, we're going to go figure out a playbook to get Kuru in front of X type of person, whatever X is. Let's just for sake of argument say that it's nurses and the healthcare workers, right? They're on their feet a lot. What are the programs? What is the messaging? What is the imagery? Where do they live? How do we target them? Like, let's go develop that over 2 years and figure out. And maybe the end goal is that we want to be in the top 5 footwear brands. And when we just survey 1,000 random nurses, and Kuru becomes one of those 5, right? Like, and maybe a lot of those folks don't even think of us as a footwear problem solution type of brand. but just we want them to associate Kuru with nurses. Like, what does that look like? Figure out that playbook, develop it, hone it a bit, and then go, okay, we're going to go now do a new version for warehouse workers or delivery drivers or retail workers or restaurant workers, right? Like, there are a whole rash of different types of jobs that where people are on their feet all day. And you can think of a whole variety of activities and programs and in-person event activation and lots of different things that are possible there. And we've barely even thought of it. Like, it's, that leads into the digital PR component. It leads into a branding component, an imagery component, a messaging component. There's so many variables there that we haven't scratched the surface, partly because we've been busy fixing all this other stuff, right? The phases of growth that I keep describing, like phase 1 is fixed digital, and we're still like halfway done with that. So there's a lot of room to go still, and then it's to start going broad and move up the funnel, right?
Figs was supposed to come on the podcast this week, the nursewear company, so they'd be one to look at for how they've broken into that category. Vessi has done such a good job.
Vessi's a great brand, and Figs, I would do anything to partner with Figs. Get New Balance off their website. Those guys are not a great fit for them, but
well, they don't really solve problems in the way that you guys do, right?
Yeah, I mean, I will say that when we ask, we get lots of wides. I'm a huge New Balance fan as a wide for sure. I classic dad shoe, the white leather with the blue end. I wore through plenty of pairs of those in my day. But yeah, Figs is a great brand, incredible brand. Vessi's done great work. Like, Vessi's got a much tighter story, right? About waterproof shoes, stylish, great looking shoes. This is what they do, right? And they beat that consistently. Canadian brand, right? Vancouver?
I would say right 1 in 3 people on the west coast of Canada has a pair of Vessi's. It's an absolute, I can't believe that when you talk about saturation, they may be approaching saturation in urban centers.
Like, maybe it's the Seattle shoe. If it's why I never thought, I kept asking myself, like, I don't need waterproof shoes. Who needs waterproof? Maybe if you live in Seattle and Vancouver, you need waterproof shoes.
If you're on the beach every weekend with your dog, you need you need waterproof shoes. And I cured my plantar fasciitis, which I think with something that was called like a hammer therapy. It was essentially like a massage gun that like hammered, right, and it kind of like brought stem cells to the area, and that seemed to be the thing that fixed it. But if it ever comes back, I'm going right to Kuru.
We're going to need to start selling some therapy guns. That's some Theraguns on the site.
I think that's, in terms of jobs to be done, it's not a bad idea. Although you do want to solve this problem. You don't, I was going to say, if you solve the problem, then they might not want to wear the shoes, but that's not, they will still wear the shoes because they're stylish. They're still comfortable. They're good for foot pain.
We tell people all the time that we may not be this perfect solution for everybody, and we want to help you solve the problem regardless of what it takes, right? So we tell people about stretching and exercising and losing weight sometimes. Like, there's a lot of different vectors that can help with that, and we want to make sure we're providing as much information as we can to our customers to give them whatever tools they need to fix that problem.
Fantastic. Well, this has been a wealth of information. Thanks for coming on today, Sean. If people want to check out Kuru, they should go to kurufootwear.com. And if they want to catch up with you and follow your marketing journey and your witticisms, perhaps join your office hours, which I was just noticing that you hold occasionally on Twitter, how do you recommend they get in touch with you?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Sean McGinnis, SeanMcGinnis. Happy to host people in office hours. I opened up a hour of my time every morning to just kind of schedule at random. It's been a great experiment. 3 weeks in, I can't wait to keep that going. But yeah,
how's that going? I wanted to ask, what kind of people are coming out?
Incredible. It's been incredible. A lot of folks that you and I are mutually connected with, but I've never had the chance to have this face-to-face conversation before. And it's specifically designed to try to address my predilection to being an old grumpy fart who just is like, get off my lawn all the time. It's forcing me to be open-minded and having great conversations with people that just at random, people that you interact with on Twitter regularly, and because the world is all closed off now, it's like, you know what, let's just hop on a call for 30 minutes. It's been a really fun experiment.
Very cool. Well, make sure you I'm going to join one of those next time, and hope to see a few more of our listeners on there. Thanks for coming on the DTC podcast today. This was great.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, Eric. I really appreciate the opportunity to share the Kuru story.
Thanks so much for listening to today's episode. If you're not a subscriber to our newsletter, you can do that right now at direct-to-consumer, all one word, .co. I'm Eric Dyck, and this has been the D2C Podcast. We'll see you next time.